And welcome to another segment of A Spirited Debate. I'm Lauren Green. Well, as Americans sit down to enjoy a Thanksgiving meal this year, millions of Jews in the U.S. will have to do double duty. That's because for the first time since 1888, Thanksgiving and Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights, will overlap. Rabbi Brad Hirschfield is here to give us some insight into this rare occurrence and why it is happening. First of all, welcome. And happy Thanksgivukkah.
And to you. It's good to be here. Happy Thanksgivukkah.
This is an interesting wordplay because we can only do it once because it happened in 1880. I keep wanting to say 1888. It won't happen again for another like 70,000 years.
For thousands and thousands of years. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that is quintessentially American and quintessentially Jewish all at the same time.
Now, we can have some fun wordplays, like we were talking about menorcas.
Right, menorcas.
The menorah, which is the...
Right, the menorah is the candelabrum that gets lit, and they've made one that now you can picture the back of the tail, and it's got all the little lights, and of course I blurted out to someone, no, actually, maybe it's not just a turkey-shaped menorah, maybe it's a menorah-shaped turkey. But I haven't seen one of those yet. But we have those, and we have, potato pancakes are traditional, so now there's sweet potato pancakes, and donuts are traditional, because it's also connected to the oil that was used in the Jerusalem temple, so you fry stuff, so we've now got spiced pumpkin-filled donuts.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm making one of those, or at least getting one if I can't make it. So yeah, there's the word play, and there's the food play, and there's also the deeper meaning play.
Before we get to the deeper meaning of this combination of Thanksgiving and Hanukkah, explain for a lot of viewers what Hanukkah actually is. What does it signify?
Sure. What it is historically was a fight was fought starting in about the year 165 before the Common Era in the Holy Land, and it went on for a number of years. And it was a small group of Jews in the land that had been conquered by Greek-speaking Syrians, the inheritors of Alexander the Great, who engaged in levels of religious oppression that were pretty spectacular. It was one of those moments when an empire came and said, you dare not be who you most think you are, not unlike actually what happened to early Christians in the first centuries after Jesus, where they were told, it's not only that we don't like what you do, we're going to kill you for doing it. And the small group called the Maccabees said, you know what? It doesn't have to be that way. We are vastly outnumbered, right? We're totally outgunned here. There's no reason this should work, but we're going to do it anyway. And they set out, and it actually worked. And they freed themselves, and they freed their people. And then they come into the temple in Jerusalem, where that candlestick, that 7 branch, then it was 7, now it's 9, because the Hebrew Bible records that God telling Moses, build it out of gold and 7, light it every day. And there was only enough oil to last for one day. And it would take longer to make more. So why bother lighting, they could have argued. There isn't enough to really make this work. They found a little tiny bit of oil and said, no, light it. Put it into that menorah and light it. And it will work out somehow. And the miracle story is that the one day's oil lasted for 8 days, by which time they had produced enough oil that they could continue lighting ever after. And of course, that message is that there's usually more available to us and more available inside of us. Imagine that we are that little vial of oil than we could ever imagine. And if we just dare to light it, it won't always work, but it's amazing how often it will.
Explain, too, how you can combine these two holidays. How is Hanukkah just like Thanksgiving in many ways?
Well, biblically, both the Pilgrims and those Maccabees thought they were celebrating Tabernacles, the Feast of Tabernacles recorded in the Bible. But beyond the technical, they are both fundamentally about that trusting the moment and that ability to reach inside yourself and do something big, even if everyone thinks you're crazy. I mean, imagine what the Pilgrims' neighbors thought in England. This little group, not a lot of money, gets on leaky boats. We're traveling across the ocean. Why? Because we feel called to do this. We think we can build a great society and live out our most deeply held values with real integrity if we'll just take this trip. You're crazy. That's not possible. I said, well, you call it crazy. We call it faith and hope and destiny. In the same way, those Maccabees, that little band of soldiers against this massive imperial army and willing to light when it made no sense, they fought and they lit and it worked. In each case, people had to trust what was inside them and the moment they were living in, and then they did something else that we can always do. They chose to celebrate before the final victory was achieved. Imagine that first Thanksgiving. Life was still horrible.
Right, exactly. But be thankful because we're going to be thankful for the future, for the victory that's coming. You know, it's interesting because Hanukkah and Christmas very frequently are around the same time.
Right.
It's not unusual.
Right.
Why is it that it's on Thanksgiving now? I know Thanksgiving is not a holiday we've had forever, but the fact that it would be this early, why?
Well, what happens calendrically with the Jewish calendar is that it's a mostly lunar calendar, not fully, and the American calendar and the Christian calendar are solar calendars. So we pick a date. Christmas is always the 25th of December, right? That's fixed. Jewish holidays are always in the same season, because when things get too out of whack, because the moon is a shorter cycle than 30 days of a month, we throw in an extra month. Actually, 7 times in 19 years, you stuff in an extra month, and that keeps every holiday in its proper season.
Oh, just like leap year.
It's like leap year. That's how we call them. They're leap months.
Leap
That's
months.
exactly what they are.
Okay.
What they make sure of is that the holidays are in the season they used to be in the time of the Bible. For example, the Muslim calendar doesn't do that, so we'll hear about Ramadan being in December, and then in August, and then in July, and then in November. But the Jewish holidays are seasonal. It turns out that they happen to coincide this year because where the month of November is falling out on the third Thursday, and where the Jewish calendar is, we get this one moment of intersection between the two, and a moment of intersection which we realize, wow, there is more to be grateful for than we realize, and we should trust our own lives and our own destiny more than we often give ourselves credit for. And when we do that, we're actually just like the Pilgrims and just like the Maccabees.
Wow, it's very interesting the things you're kind of seeing around, trying to combine these two holidays. How are you going to celebrate Thanksgivukkah?
So there are new ways emerging all the time in my household. Last night, my daughters explained to me that we have cookie cutter for turkeys, and we have cookie cutters for dreidels and menorahs. But what they wanted to say, really what we should do is the turkeys should be blue and white with little Hebrew letters on them.
Okay.
And the turkey, I'm sorry, did I get the right? Yeah, and the dreidels will be orange and yellow and brown.
Switch it up.
And I asked my 12-year-old, why? And she said to me, because Abba, it's Hebrew for daddy, it's what she calls it. She goes, because Abba, really? It's one holiday. And that way people really know when you have one, you can have the other.
Oh, how very sweet. Out of the mouths of babes.
Right?
Those
are
great
one of those moments like,
philosophies.
wow, you're not a complete screw-up as a parent. She's getting the message.
Well, you want to read more about Thanksgivukkah, you can check out Rabbi Hirschfield's article on foxnews.com opinion page, why it's so American, so Jewish, and so important. Yeah. There we go. Thank you very much,
Thank
Rabbi.
you. Happy Thanksgivukkah.
Thank you very much, and happy Thanksgivukkah to you, too. And happy Thanksgiving and Hanukkah to you as well, if you were celebrating both and or the other, who knows. Then thank you very much for joining us, Spirited Debate.